and welcome to OT, the podcast. We're here to talk about watches, time, and Celine Dion. I'm Felix Schultz.
I'm Andy Green, and it's odd that I had to pause Celine Dion to start this recording.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't mind a bit of Celine Dion when I'm sort of, getting out of the shower, getting ready. It's sort of like uplifting music for getting ready for the day.
Canada has all the best talented exports.
Just the best things, yeah. Love you, Celine. Come on sometime.
Hey, do you know who else is a massive Celine Dion fan?
Is it today's guest?
I'm not entirely sure, but let's go with it for the sake of narrative flow. Jonny Garrett, the founder of William Wood Watches.
Willie Wood, one of our favourites.
Yeah. So this week's sponsor, and we have a chat with him coming up. It's interesting. Like, I mean, a few years ago, so they're celebrating their 5th anniversary. You wouldn't have thought a brand built around, firefighting would have had any legs, but going from strength to strength, and I think getting better with age, Andy.
Yeah, definitely they found their feet now. We chat to Jonny, hear about the story, hear kind of how and why he started William Woods, what they've got kind of coming up for that 5th year anniversary, and it's some pretty cool stuff. And you might remember them sponsoring. I think they were the first watch sponsor we had, Felix.
You'd have to have a very good memory to remember that.
Yeah, and if you're new here, go back and have a listen. But they showed a lot of faith. So of course we wanted to get Jonny on at some point and chat to him, and we have. And they're also today's episode sponsor, funnily enough. So very excited for you all to chat about that. But before we get into our chat with Jonny, where is he? Where did we talk to him from?
I think he had just landed in Namibia, so I think he's taken advantage of the whole COVID situation and maybe done some sort of working remotely situation to the extreme. Like, we chatted to him a while ago in South Africa. Now he's in Namibia. He was like getting ready to road trip around the continent. I don't know. It sounds fun. But speaking, you know how we said William Wood's getting better with age. You know what else got better with age?
Tell me.
Ghostbusters.
Oh, okay. You've watched the new one?
Yeah, I watched it last night. I really enjoyed it. Have you seen it, Andy?
I have not, but give me a score out of 5.
5 proton packs. I would give it a solid 4, I think.
Wow.
Like, and full disclosure, I was a very big fan of the one with Melissa McCarthy and the gang as well. But this is it's Ivor Reitman, the director and the writer. So the guy that
Jason Reitman.
Sorry, the guy that did the OG ones come back and have done this, and it's
got the old crew as well.
Yeah, little sort of cameo. There's some obviously some new stars and a new generation doing most of the action, but there's a very, very cool nostalgia moment at the end where they all sort of come back again, and they've done a really good job of linking it quite strongly back to the first film.
Okay.
Like it's sort of clearly in the same world. So it's not quite – it's halfway between like a reboot and a refresh and a sequel. But it's pure nostalgia, and it's just, all those cool moments. I really liked it. And the new –
fantastic.
Some quite young actors, I think, as well, that were really, really great. One of the kids from Stranger Things is all grown up. And yeah.
Finn Wolfhard.
Yeah,
another Canadian.
Really, and the female lead she's really cool. There's all the good things, and bloody Paul Rudd's adorable in it too.
McKenna Grace, Paul Rudd he rarely has a misstep.
No,
he's very, very good.
Yeah, so look, if you're looking for a sort of popcorn movie, I recommend it. Let me put it this way: I paid $30 to buy it on Apple TV. I don't regret that.
Wow. Fantastic.
I'll watch it a few times, get the money's worth.
Okay, suitable for kids? Depends on your parenting style.
It depends on the kids. I'd probably say, for tweens and preteens, like it's a bit old for my kid. There's a few sort of quite scary moments.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Yeah,
but in the best possible way.
Fantastic.
You know what else we've been up to, Andy? And this is not just me. I assume you've been doing this as well.
What a week we've had, Felix. A roller coaster.
Yeah, we're doing Watches and Wonders. It's formal. We've
said yes.
We've committed, and now we're doing some scheduling. So that's exciting, and lots of as always at these sort of things, lots of back and forth emails and phone calls and trying to make Excel calendars work together. But it's exciting, I think. It'll be really interesting to see what the sort of the vibe is, after a couple of years off and in a new format.
Yep. So, well, that's the big thing there. It's a new format. Basel is no longer. It's all about Watches and Wonders in Geneva, so a bit of a location change as well. Slight change to the time of year, and it's going to be much shorter and condensed. So we'll be in and out.
You never did SIHH, did you?
I never got in there. So
interesting.
It's going to be a different experience.
Yeah, right. I think it's going to be pretty similar to that. I could, I'm just sort of speculating here, but it's going to be really interesting, and I'm looking forward to, mostly, to be honest, catching up with people.
I know it's going to be good. We're going to bring the tools, so we're going to do a bit of on the ground reporting and recording.
We're going to be those guys, aren't we?
We're going to be those guys for sure. If you're not in our Discord, you definitely should join it, because that's where we're going to be posting videos and photos and updates in real time. There'll be a bit of a delay when putting all the shows and stuff together.
Maybe turn the notifications off so we don't wake up the Aussie Discorders at 3 a.m.
Yeah, that's
blowing up the phone.
It's a valid point, Felix.
I've got a question, not necessarily for you, but more for you, dear listener. What is there anything you guys would like to see us cover from Watches and Wonders, or any particular types of coverage? Like, are you interested in our thoughts on watches, interviews with like brand executives? I don't know, us randomly talking to the wait staff.
Yeah. Us 4 whiskeys in on Instagram Live. I don't know.
Us complaining about travel conditions, or all the usual good stuff. So hit us up on Discord, or if you're one of those people like Nick Kenyon that aren't on Discord yet, flick us a message on Instagram or email or something like that. If you've got something you want to see, or something you want to hear about from us, we can be pretty reactive with that and try and make it happen.
Discord, Watches and Wonders, let us know.
We'll have to start a new channel.
We will have to start a new channel. Just, Geneva. Well, one other thing we did together, Felix, which was a little bit weird for us because we've not done this in a long time. Years, in fact. A watch event. IWC had their Big Pilot Roadshow, which you might have seen happen in various parts around the world. It got to Melbourne. It's those big shipping containers in Fed Square, if you're in Melbourne. I think they're still up.
Now, big shipping containers doesn't quite do it justice.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
It's impressive. It's so it was I think there was 3 or 4 in total.
Yep.
They had a whole display, a bit of an outdoor area, and then another sort of hospitality container with coffee and all sorts of fun stuff. First time we'd seen the IWC crew in a little while, but our first proper event, and it was very well executed.
Yeah.
So thank you, IWC, for inviting us. The other thing that I can talk about, but I can't talk about, I went hands-on. I had a very brief hands-on with a couple of under embargo pieces, Felix. I don't think you signed an NDA, so you don't know about them.
What are you talking about? What are they?
Exactly.
IWC is making new watches?
They got some new stuff. They're very, very protective of this new stuff. It's nice. It is nice. Let me just...
look, without getting the Richemont legal team onto us, if you had to use 3 words to describe these, I'm going to guess they're wristwatches. I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
What 3 words or what mood would they evoke in your heart?
I'm going to say save some money.
Whoa.
You know what IWC's, the realm of an IWC, save some money, because I think these are going to be hot. These are going to be very, very hot.
A little caliente urin.
I didn't want to give it back. I wanted to sort of say, can I have this for a couple of weeks, maybe take it overseas, but in and out, unfortunately, Felix. But I was very, very impressed.
Now, if you don't have IWC money for a watch that we can't even legally know about, you got any other options for us this week?
Such a tease. Yeah. Did you see the new Seiko, the Black Series limited editions?
I did get the email. I had a look.
Very cool.
Do you know what I was most impressed by? And this is slightly it's not meant to be shade, but more a celebration of the excellence that is these thick woven straps from Seiko.
They're a nice strap. I think we've talked about these before, the straps in isolation. They're very good.
Yeah. Have you seen them IRL?
I want to say I have. I want to say I have, but
they're so luscious.
they've killed it. They've absolutely killed it. So there's 3 interpretations of various mechanical divers over from 1965 to 1970, 5,500 pieces of each. So quite a few in that limited edition, but all blacked out. And then I think there's one with a really interesting sort of texture dial as well. Yeah, fancy dial. There's black silicon strap available, which is also cool. There's so 4 watches in total, Felix.
So So there's 3 those sort of core 3 on that woven strap. There's that SPB, which is that round one with the crown at 3 that James Stacey's a big fan of. There's the turtle, and then there's the one that kind of looks a bit more like an SKX with the crown at 4. It's the SPB 255J1. What's your pick?
Probably the SPB 253.
Oh,
yeah, standard
nice.
boy.
Great
Good size.
40 mil.
Yeah, fantastic size, isn't it?
Do you have any black watches at the moment?
Do I have any black watches? I have a Bamford GMT.
Yeah, nice. No, you should wear that in Geneva, mate.
Yeah, remember we have to talk about what watch to wear. Don't even know.
That sounds like a content op, Hanley. Let's save that for a bonus.
Which watch should we wear to Geneva? I'm thinking Anoldane.
You could vote for it.
Vote in our Discord.
Mate,
anyway.
I'm just hoping. I'm hoping to have an Anoldane to wear in time for Geneva.
Yeah, well, maybe you can take Nicholas Kenyon. Discuss it in our Discord if he ever joins. Well, I think, Felix, without further ado, we need to get the founder of today's episode sponsor, William Wood Watches, Jonny Garrett, on the show, and let's have a chat to him about his brand.
No more mucking around. Let's break out the fire hose.
Today's guest is Jonathan Garrett, the founder of William Wood Watches, a pretty fiery watch brand that's celebrating its 5th anniversary in serious style. Jonny, welcome to OD the podcast. Where in the world have we found you?
Thank you so much. You have found me in Namibia. We've actually just flown in from South Africa, having worked for the last 4 weeks remotely from the Garden Route and Cape Town. So really excited to be in Namibia and to be on the podcast.
I mean, this is, the modern world in a nutshell. We could be anywhere. Whoever's listening to this is probably, I don't know, in probably America or the UK, based on our
or Australia.
But Jonny, I mean, the first place to start is with William Wood, and we've heard about pilots' watches. We know about dive watches. I think what William Wood has managed to do is something pretty unique. You've cornered the market and created the market in firefighters' watches. Can you tell us sort of how you started the brand and what the sort of the link to fire services is?
Yeah, absolutely. So it all started back in December 2016. I have always been very entrepreneurial, but always known, which is quite unique, that one day I would choose a business which was so special to me and personal to me that I would do it for the rest of my life as my lifelong career. And I was actually out in my local pub in the northeast of England, and I met a friend there. This was Boxing Day 2016. And he told me about Kickstarter, which is, as you know, the crowdfunding platform that allows creative entrepreneurs to sort of bring their product to market through pre-orders. And as soon as I heard about that, I actually went home that night. It was about midnight on Boxing Day, and I just sat in around my kitchen table of my family home and thought, this is it. This is the platform that I need to be able to set up what I want to do. And really, William Wood Watches unfolded so quick from there because I've always had a real passion for luxury. I really appreciate the craftsmanship that goes into luxury.
Yep.
I've always liked watches too. And I always knew that if I was going to do a brand that would get me up out of bed every morning, super passionate, I'd have to dedicate it to somebody or something that had massively touched my life. And that was my grandfather, who was called William Wood. And he served in the British Fire Service for over 25 years. In the Newcastle and Gateshead Fire Brigade, he served on a shift pattern called the Blue Watch. And what makes our watches incredibly unique is the fact that we have dedicated them to my grandfather and firefighters and first responders internationally. And we actually make them from genuine upcycled firefighting materials with a donation going back to international firefighting charities around the world.
Very, very cool. And look, Felix and I've obviously been hands-on with plenty of the watches, and there's a lot of unique firefighting touches that you've woven into the brand, which I think we'll get into shortly. But one of the things we want to talk to you about is sustainability. It's becoming a really big trend in watches, and to Felix and I, definitely, it's important to us, but it's also important to William Wood, and definitely the straps. So tell us about the straps. Tell us where the idea came from.
Yeah, so I guess from the outset, as you guys know, the watch industry is so saturated, and believe it or not, there is actually a low barrier to entry to get in. So if you launch a product on Kickstarter and you raise the amount of money you need for your first mass production order, you're a watch founder. I mean, it's a bit harder than I'm making out. But what that means is you have to have a really strong USP from the beginning. And I guess we were a little bit ahead of the game. I mean, I knew back in 2016 that we needed to have, for me, upcycling in every single collection that we produce. So there's two parts, as I say. We've got the watch straps, and they're made from genuine upcycled fire hose, which has been donated to us from different fire regions around the UK. So the UK Fire and Rescue Service is broken up into 52 different regions, and they all use a different color fire hose. Now, predominantly, as you'd expect, it's red. So we have red fire hose straps donated to us by the London Fire Brigade. All of the hose that we use has to have done at least 10 years worth of service. So the cool thing is it's got its own patina, it's got its own markings. And as you guys know, it's got its own smell. So you can actually smell that rich smokiness in the rubber. And we've also got 3 other colors. So we've got yellow from the West Midlands Fire and Rescue Service. They're one of the only fire regions in the UK that use yellow. We've also got blue, which is the sort of dearest fire hose to my heart, because that's from the fire region that my grandfather served in the Tyne and Wear Fire and Rescue Service. And the cool thing about that hose is it's so unique. It's only used in high-rise fires in training drills. So trying to get your hands on that stuff is like gold dust, because obviously we need to wait 10 years for it to be used. And then the final color is cargo green, which is used by the British Armed Forces Fire and Defence Unit. And again, we chop that up, repurpose it, and we put it into our watch straps.
That's really cool. And I've just imagined you've got this sort of surreptitious network of guys selling your fire hose off the back of a fire truck. I'm sure it's not quite like that.
I got a guy.
But I think it's worth pointing out that so these straps, they are incredible. They do, they look and smell incredible, like you've said. And you really play with the colors. It's also something that's worth noting for people listening. You can buy them independently. And I think you've got even like sort of a little bundle where you can get them all in like a sort of a package. But I don't know. I've got a few watches that new tan colored fire service kit strap would look very cool on. So check them out. I reckon they're really, really something unique in the marketplace.
Yeah, comfortable too. Jonny, so you as you've just demonstrated, you're very knowledgeable in the firefighting space. And I'm really curious to hear your background with watches, because you went home and immediately sort of knew you had to do something in that Kickstarter space and love luxury. But is there a watch story? Is there a background in being a watch collector or an enthusiast? Why did you choose to kind of start a watch brand?
So every time I was pulling together a sort of mood board of what brand and what category and discipline I wanted to set a brand up in, literally every single rotation kept coming back to watches. And I think, naturally, I've sort of collected watches when I was younger. Now, it's funny because my taste in watches have changed dramatically. I always get asked, what's the first watch I ever owned? And it was one of those little black Casio watches, which I still wear now because it's just awesome for the gym. But you can see that my tastes in watches have definitely evolved over the years. But plain and simply, when it came to wanting to run a business in a luxury market, every single brainstorming session that I was having with myself and my loved ones and my close family and friends, it kept coming back to watches, because really ultimately there's so much fun that you can have with them. There's so much personality you can bring to them. And actually, sometimes people say, Well, aren't you limited? All you've got is a asymmetrical dial, certain movements that you can use. But I always say it's a lot like music. You have a certain amount of notes that you can use, but artists seem to keep bringing out fantastic songs every single day. So it's a similar kind of fashion, really. I must admit, I do also have a real passion for cars, classic cars and supercars, but I don't think I could fund that on Kickstarter.
Maybe, don't never say never.
Exactly.
So, Jonny, what I think is really interesting is this sort of more general thing of building a brand around a particular sort of identity. So for William Wood, it's fire services and firefighters, and I always think, like, you look at other big brands that sort of have that one key look or that one sort of persona, and it's a really tricky line to not just design a single watch, but beyond that to like iterate over and over again. Like for you, you've been doing this for 5 years and your design has evolved. How do you incorporate those design elements of that are relevant to fire services and to firefighters, but also keep them accessible to like someone like me or Andy that hasn't held a hose, to use our Prime Minister's language?
So that's an awesome question, because it's one I get asked all the time, and it's predominantly people say, do you not think this has a lifespan to it? Do you not think it's so niche that how many more fire related watches can you keep releasing? And my opinion is, I actually believe that because we have such a niche, we can go even further. We can be even more playful. We can create designs which are even more quirky and outlandish because we have really cool perimeters to be able to work in. Now, the challenge that we have is you've always got to make sure that the design is super chic and super luxury. And I think part of business, I mean, I do believe that you create your own look, but I also think sometimes you have to be lucky to fall into certain industries. Now, I didn't know that the fire service market as a whole really doesn't have, I'd say, maybe one or two, but very, very minutiae amounts of luxury products to be able to really commemorate fantastic work that firefighters do around the world. And every time they're coming up to retirement gifts, birthdays, anniversaries, passing out parades, honestly, all they have as an option are statues, wall-mounted axes, badges, stamps. So when I'm coming into the market and I'm saying, well, actually, guys, we're a brand who's grown to over 7 figures now. We've got press sort of like the New York Times, Forbes, Business Insider, who are writing about us, but putting us into the same category as really nice luxury watch brands. The fire service are coming back, and I'm so grateful and thankful that there's a private sector brand that's come along and has created something that commemorates their career in a luxury chic fashion, and something that isn't sort of ticky-tacky. Now, the other cool thing as well is, out of all of the customers who buy our watches, you may think it's heavily firefighter related. It was when we first started, but actually about 75% of our customers are now watch enthusiasts who almost want to buy into that rich firefighting heritage. Because the beautiful thing about every one of our collections is, I believe we'll always have room to be playful, but people purchase our watches because they resonate with the story. And this is the really, really cool thing. It opens up such a big market for us, because everybody knows somebody who has served in the military, as a paramedic, as a RNLI lifeboat worker, as a firefighter, as a police officer. And it may even be a grandparent, a parent, it may be a son, a grandson. So it's almost as if when people wear our watches, they're buying them for a bigger meaning that resonates with the story. So I think we have freedom to go on for, I mean, I always say that I have a 50-year vision. So we're not trying to build a brand here where we have an exit plan in the next 2 or 3 years. Every decision that we're making, it's for the longer term.
Yeah, awesome. And that's, some really good insight into the background. One of the things, I did like when we went hands-on with your watches was all of those little details that you've sort of put into the watches. It's very thoughtful. and it didn't feel over the top. Obviously, the strap made from the hose rubber is a pretty strong touch, but there's a lot of more subtle touches and details that you sort of woven into the timepieces in the brand. Can you tell us about those?
Yeah. We're super focused. We have a laser focus on all of our design elements. So even if you let's take our Triumph collection from our Prestige range. So that's a Swiss-made chronograph series with the Sellita SW510 movement. So really, I guess if we were to zoom right in with a macro lens onto the dial, it's got a beautiful checkered marking around the outside of the dial, which is the exact marking off the side of a British fire engine. The hands themselves, so the chronograph hand, that represents the chime of a fire bell. So if you think about the vintage fire bell and the big chime inside, that represents or is inspired by the shape of the chime. The hands, which actually drive the chronograph subdials, they take inspiration from the pressure pump gauges. So when you're actually opening up a fire hose and you're letting out the power of the water, the pressure pump gauge hands are actually inspired and placed at the 3 p.m. and the 9 p.m. indices. Placed in the back of the watch, it's got in case of fire break glass, which is obviously a real sort of pièce de résistance. We haven't seen that before, and it's a lovely play on words because obviously there's a lovely sapphire crystal glass that sort of houses the movement. So to actually have glass over the in case of fire break glass memento is really awesome. We've also taken an original 1920s British brass firefighters helmet worn by firefighters over 100 years ago. We take it down to the jewelry district in London. We take it to a family jewelers where we melt it down in a kiln and we create different castings which actually get melted into our watch crowns. And that's why we say that every single one of our watches has genuine British firefighting history beating through every single component. So we really think about every element. I mean, even the back of the seconds hand represents at the end of an axe. So if you look at it, though, to the naked eye, you'll just think, oh, that's a really pretty watch. But when you talk through all of the design elements, it sort of blows your mind how many areas we've really thought through.
That's really interesting. And you sort of talked about how you can kind of get a little bit wild with the colors and it gives you a lot of freedom of expression. I think that's a good time to bring up the limited edition that I think is going to be launched very, very soon on March the 3rd, the Bronze Amethyst. Tell us, what are we looking at here?
So the reason that we launched the Bronze Amethyst is because we're celebrating our 5-year anniversary. And we wanted to release a watch which recognizes the last 5 years of the brand. So we've created our Bronze Amethyst Anniversary Edition. The reason that we've chosen the color amethyst, which has that lovely sort of rich purple color, is because that's the actual month and the gemstone of when we incorporated the business. And I also think watch brands don't really play with purple too much. I think it's a really, really nice color. So we've got a dial, which is a violet plum metallic shimmer. So it's got that lovely sunburst element to it. We've taken the 5 p.m. indices and we've actually cut it out into a number 5. So it's got a sandwich dial with superluminova sat behind it. We've actually printed onto the dial, normally where we'd have our water depth. We've taken that off and we've actually put the years of incorporation from 2017 to 2022. And then on the reverse of the watch, we have a lovely gloss purple flame. And there's a cutout number 5 in the purple flame where you can look straight through to the movement of the watch. And around that, it has a limited edition engraving. And the great thing about this collection is there's only 55 pieces available. Now, that's not 55 pieces and then we continue producing them with no engraving number on them. That is, we will never make those pieces again. So we've never produced a collection with as low quantity as this. The lowest we've ever gone is 200, and this is 55. So it's housed within a lovely bronze case, and it's available on all of our fire hose straps and our newest upcycled fire kit strap, which is made from fire kit that firefighters actually wear in live fires around the UK, and that's going to retail for £955, and it's going to be launching, as you say, on the 3rd of March on our website.
Incredibly soon. And that kit strap, that's more like a canvasy look. It's that bit more material as opposed to the rubber fire hose.
Yeah, and it's a really important step, that one, because as you guys were saying earlier, we've got so many bright, striking colours, but if you want to become part of the William Wood family, but you want something a little more subtle, we've got more of a neutral desert sand colour fire kit strap, but also all of our Valiant collection and our Triumph collection fits a nice stainless steel bracelet too, and that adds a completely different look and aesthetic to the watch as well.
Very cool. Jonny, you're very eloquent, I got to say. You've been very good at describing your products.
It's like you've been doing it for 5 years.
Yeah. It's very impressive. It comes across, really, really nicely. And, speaking to that 5-year anniversary, I really want to know what the hardest part of the last 5 years has been and the most rewarding part, and what they've been for you and William Wood.
So let's start with the most rewarding part, because I think that's the easiest one.
Sure.
The most rewarding part is seeing other people wearing your brand. It's absolutely mental when you come to an event and you see somebody wearing your brand, and they may not even know that you are the founder. And you just you approach them, and normally I just probe a bit and say, "That's a beautiful watch. Can you tell me a bit more about it?" And their eyes just light up because they want to sell the story. It's almost like our customers become these incredible sales ambassadors, because the story ignites such an emotion inside of them that they can't wait to tell it. So that's a beautiful thing. We also have really cool moments where there was a customer in Florida. He lived in the suburbs of Florida. He went to his local Home Depot, like right in the Florida marshes, and he was paying for some paint. And the guy behind the counter was like, "Oh my God, is that a William Wood firefighting watch?" That's my best impression of an American accent, by the way.
Very good.
We're sorry, America.
Yeah, I know. I'm very sorry, America. And I just sort of think like that's a pinch me moment when you go from literally having an idea at your kitchen table like 5 years earlier to now it really is an international brand that's gone full circle, and people are loving and adoring something that you've been able to create, and something that was a thought and has now become a reality. So I'd say that's what gives me a kick. I also really love talking to customers. So we've got almost 3,000 customers now, and over the last 5 years, I've spoken to every single one of them, which is, I think, also quite unique. Yeah.
Solid.
That's impressive. That's really
yeah.
So what have you found challenging? So what's the other side of that sort of really rewarding story? What has sort of stressed you out or kept you up at night?
I'd probably say production. So the pandemic was a huge curveball, and so the way that William Wood Watches operates is we don't have any investors. It's 100% just owned by me effectively. So the way that we run it is by reinvesting profits, long-term sustainable growth, which means we don't have crazy deep pockets like businesses that may have private equity that comes in and just goes, "Right, guys, what I want you to do is stock every collection on your website. I want you to have 100 to 250 SKUs deep, and I want you to place an inventory order of £500,000 to £750,000." Like that's punchy. So the hardest part really of my job is really going through the previous analytics of which SKUs, which colors, what do customers like. So to give you an example, in December, we placed our order for the entire year of 2022.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. And we're talking, I mean, very transparent. We produce about 1,000 watches a year. So nice. You really have to know and be, you basically have to have incredible foresight to understand. And I think that's probably the most stressful part. And when you layer on top of that, the lead time now on producing pieces has extended from about 4 months to maybe 6 to 7 months. And the movements which all of us use, your Solitas, ETA is just very, very difficult to get our hands on, so we had to shift away from ETA. Seiko is very, very tough. All of these movements, no matter how much potential money you come with or how many movements you're buying, you don't move up the queue. So if you have a company that's buying 10,000 movements through Seiko a month, and then we want to buy, I don't know, maybe 500, they don't have priority over us, which is nice. But at the same time, it means that you have to plan really 6 to 7 months in advance. And I'd say that's probably one of the most stressful parts, especially when you are launching collections on a pre-order basis. Now, we've never, ever delivered a watch late, but we always try and add a little bit of fat into the delivery time. And we are evolving to a place where we don't have a pre-order timeline anymore. So we're at the stage where about 75% of all of our collections are available now on our website. But that's through really hard planning and also really challenging sort of periods where you think, oh my God, we've got all this cash in the business account, we're doing great, and then all of a sudden you place an inventory order, and it's that working capital swing. So it's but I previously worked in banking, and so did Marie, who's our head of marketing and PR. So she actually worked at the same bank with me. So I think by having that financial mindset, it brings it in. Yeah.
Well, you guys are a dynamic duo, and every time Felix and I get off a call with you both, we're very impressed with how well you work together, and probably explains a lot of the success that you've had so far. Back to the 5-year celebrations, though. You're not just happy with watches, and something we haven't talked about yet, but we will get into, is the charitable side of William Wood. But tell us about this motorbike that you've created. There's quite a bit of detail that's gone into it, and it's for a pretty good cause. So I want to hear about the Always Ready motorbike.
This is very special. So this is the first time that we've almost created a collaboration, which is horology meeting machine. And we certainly haven't seen many brands out there who have produced a motorbike actually that encompasses and brings into the machine actual watch parts. So the way this came about was one of our customers purchased one of our watches, absolutely fell in love with our craftsmanship, story, charitable donations, and he actually sits on the motorcycle national board in Scotland and is a non-executive director of a awesome Scottish custom motorbike builder called Saltire Motorcycles. And he reached out and he said, Jonny, have you ever considered making a motorbike which combines William Wood's story and our custom motorbike builder, Saltire, and it actually will bring all of the upcycling of William Wood and all of your watch parts into a bike. Now, I really like motorbikes anyway, so it really didn't take me much persuasion. So what we did was we got both teams together, we brainstormed, we created a mood board, and when we believe that we've built really a work of art that captures everything that William Wood Watches and Saltire stands for. So what we've done is we've produced a bike using an Indian Scout, which is the base model. It's finished in fire engine red. We got a hand painter to come in and actually hand detail 22 karat vintage gold detailing onto the bike, just like how they would do it back in the 1950s to 1970s on vintage fire engines. We've got fire hose, Angus Duraline red fire hose, donated to us by the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service, running through the saddle of the bike. The handlebars are made from, again, upcycled fire hose. We've taken the 1920s limited edition commemorative coin from the back of our Chivalrous collection, which is our dress watch range, and we've actually placed it in situ into the side of the handlebars of the bike. The handlebars themselves are made from repurposed 1975 Leyland fire engine Firefighter ladders. So we've got a crafter in to actually repurpose the wood and make it into the handlebars of the bike. Stitched into the saddle are 5 stars, and those 5 stars represent the 5 children that my grandfather saved in a house fire, where he was the first firefighter in Newcastle to receive a certificate of bravery with him and 4 of his colleagues for saving the 5 children from the house fire. We've Amazing. Taken the detail is next level, chaps. we've taken the crowns made from 1920s British brass firefighter's helmet, and we've actually made it into the dust caps of the bike. The back of the Triumph collection, which says "in case of fire, break glass," is in situ in the gas tank. And the winner, who actually is going to win this bike, which I'll talk about, actually gets a bronze ruby edition William Wood watch, which clips onto the handlebars of the bike. So it's really, really quite special. And the bike is going to be a prize draw. So anybody in the world can win this bike. The bike is worth about £30,000. There are 300 tickets priced at £100 each. Anyone can enter, so you genuinely have a 1 in 300 chance of winning this one-of-a-kind motorbike, and all of the profits over and above the build of the bike. So no company, William Wood, no Saltire, make any profit from this. All of the profits goes to the Firefighters charity in the UK, who was a charity that actually helped my grandfather when he was alive. And even if you don't know how to ride a motorbike, your lessons are included on site at Saltire with your examination. So you can actually drive away from the workshop with your new bike, and you also know how to learn to drive a motorbike too.
Pretty incredible. Andy, I don't ride a motorbike.
No.
Andy doesn't. We're in Australia.
I can see you on this, Felix.
Yeah.
Big red.
Yeah, I can see it.
I like the image.
So 300 raffle ticket. When is this happening? How, if someone's listening to this, how do they, get involved? Be in it to win it, so to speak.
So from the middle of March, we're going to be launching the Always Ready landing page on our website. From there, you'll be able to register your interest. So we're just going to compile interest through email addresses, and we will then email everybody on the 20th of April, and that is when the tickets go live. They're going to be available on a first-come, first-served basis. Now, I really do think that the tickets are going to sell out in hours. I really don't think they're going to last long. So the ticket window is actually open for 2 weeks. And on the 4th of May, I know. On the 4th of May, which is International Firefighters Day 2022, we will announce the winner at Saltire Motorcycles in Edinburgh over William Wood, Saltire, and the Firefighters charity Instagram Live. And the chief of the fire service in Scotland, called Martin Blundell, will draw the name out of a hat, and that person will be the winner of the Always Ready motorbike.
Good job.
Very cool.
Good job, Martin Blundell.
Yeah, amazing. And having seen this bike, it is very cool. It looks cool. It looks fast. It's not naff. It's not tacky. It's very well done. I mean, genuinely quite impressed how you've kind of meshed the brands together with this collaboration and brought in those details that you've mentioned. So,
thank you.
And not to mention the great cause and fantastic odds. That's awesome. And look, Jonny, this isn't the only charitable project that yourself and William has done. We've talked about a little bit now of, firefighting and emergency services are really important to yourself on a personal level, but also to William Wood, the brand. How do you get involved with sort of supporting the firefighters and their work and their welfare on a sort of more regular basis?
Yeah, charity is, if you had to write down our core values, it would be upcycling, charitable donations, customer service, and it would be a story-led brand. So it's really one of our core pillars. And from the outset, we always knew that we wanted to be giving back on an annual and a regular basis to firefighting charities, not just in the UK, but around the world. And as an example, in 2021, we donated over £40,000 to international firefighting charities.
Amazing.
It's also, it's quite a significant number. This is the cool thing as well. We're quite competitive with the other charitable sponsors. Like, we really want to be the number one charitable donator to the Firefighters charity in the UK. And we're getting there. Our aspiration is very soon we want to break £100,000 in annual donations, and in aggregate we want to break the £500,000 mark in the coming years. And we've really done it all across the world. So I guess a cool story is probably something that we did in Australia.
Yeah.
And that was where we were part of, and I'm mentioning another another brand here or company in Australia, and that's the Watch and Act auction, which was led by Time and Tide.
Our old workplace, Johnny.
Good guys.
Totally
That's
fine.
okay.
Yeah. It's where Felix and I met.
Great. So we're going full circle here.
Yeah.
Really, we reached out to Time and Tide, and Andrew basically said, I mean, it's very difficult to run an auction to give back to the bushfires and the tragedies over there without having William Wood involved, a watch company that personifies firefighting. And what was really cool is, I think over all of the 21 lots, it raised about $150,000. But what we were really happy with is, I think there was about 21 lots. And as you know, it was brands like your Cartiers, your Bulgaris. And I think we raised something like the 6th or 7th highest amount as a brand out of all of those lots. And we thought, wow, that's really, really impressive. That then led on to us producing a watch for the Melbourne Fire Brigade, because we also produce watches for fire services around the world, which I'm sure we can talk about. But one of the I guess most prestige charitable events we were involved in was last year, and that was for the 20-year anniversary of 9/11. And we reached out to one of the largest firefighting charities supporting 9/11 in America. And as you know, everything's just bigger and better in America. This foundation raises about $25 million a year. So what we did was we produced a limited edition, one-of-a-kind Triumph Collection heat watch, which had the New York commemoration skyline printed onto the glass. It had the year of significance of 9/11 engraved into the back of the glass as well. And this watch, which normally retails for about $3,500, sold in auction for $19,000.
Incredible.
Solid. And all that went to charity, I'm guessing?
Absolutely. All of that went to the Tunnel to Towers Foundation in New York. And within a week, we then thought, you know what? Why don't we produce a limited edition range of watches, 100 pieces for all of the foundation beneficiaries using our Valiant collection? And over 4 weeks, we sold all 100 watches. And that drove an additional $10,000 contribution to the charity. So in total, in September last year, we donated $29,000 in support of the 20-year anniversary of 9/11. And also, that money goes to, this is the really cool part, that money goes to actually paying off mortgages of families of fallen firefighters. So if somebody has actually lost their life, then Tunnel to Towers step in and will actually pay off the entire mortgage of the family through the donations that they get through Tunnel to Towers. And I just think, I've never actually heard, isn't it? I've never heard of a foundation that just goes, do you know what? We're going to take the main worry that somebody has in life, which is a mortgage, off the table. Never again you have to worry about it.
Yeah, that's pretty meaningful, charitable work, and it's really cool that you can be involved in that. You mentioned you did a watch for the MFC here in Melbourne. Do you do a lot of that? Like, do you get firehouses or squadrons or whatever sort of get in touch and say, hey, there's 30 of us here, can we get a special watch just for us?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a big sort of underbelly of the business, which drives a lot of the turnover is big fire services from around the world saying, we want you to take your Valiant collection watch, press our local fire service crest into the back of it, and then we engrave the payroll number of each firefighter who purchases the watch into the back of the watch. So our watches are already, I believe, the most unique and special luxury item that any firefighter can buy internationally. But by adding that added layer of having their local crest and their payroll number in the back of the watch too, just takes it to a whole new level. And we've done it now with the Melbourne Fire Brigade. That then evolved, interestingly, into Kuwait. So a custom, I know. A customer of ours is the deputy chief of the Kuwait Fire Force. So within about the space of 48 hours, he called his chief. We launched it on their intranet. We sold 100 watches in 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah, that was bonkers. So that was Q8. Then we did it for the London Fire Brigade. We did it for the Kent Fire and Rescue Service. And now we've hired somebody who is a permanent business development manager just solely for the US to contact chiefs all around America, because we see that as such a growth market for us. And really, that's where we're going to be able to grow our business. And I think that's another important point, actually, when we talk about being the first to the table. You mentioned this at the start of the podcast. You've seen military watches, you've seen astronaut watches, you've seen racing watches. I'm just making sure that for the small amount of time that we're blessed with being one of pretty much the only firefighter watch brand in the world, that we make the most of it and we get into these squadrons, we get into these fire services, so that we can in the future produce more and more watches for these fire services, and we become their go-to producer rather than another big company coming in and going, do you know what? Let's make firefighting watches.
Yeah. Have some authenticity there.
Mm-hmm.
Jonny, you will be familiar with the fact that we ask all our guests for some sort of recommendation at the end of our interviews. Something that people listening can maybe watch or read or learn about that will enrich their lives. I'm going to ask you that question, but I want to ask it with a fiery twist. Mm-hmm. Do you have any favorite firefighting movies or books or documentaries, like Backdraft maybe, that people should get across?
Yeah, I mean, Backdraft is probably one of the only firefighting movies that you can probably find on Netflix, which actually isn't too bad of a film. But when
you didn't want to do John Cena's playing with fire.
Yeah, I know. Do you know what we need to get better at getting it into stylists and things who can get our watches onto people like John Cena for films like that.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, go ahead, Felix.
No, you go.
I was just going to say, recommendations wise, I mean, I'm always one to promote some of the great sort of fire service activities that happen, especially in the UK. And something or an event that not a lot of people know about is one called the British Firefighter Challenge. And this is basically where firefighters from all around the UK and Europe come to an event where there's a huge, incredible obstacle course built to almost display the discipline of being a firefighter. It happens every year in July. And something I would say is, if anybody's ever in the UK at the end of July or lives in the UK, you have to get yourself along. The next one's in Hull. They're closing the whole high street down. We have an exhibition stand there. It's actually going to be Gay Pride weekend that weekend, so it's going to be popping off on the high street as well.
Rainbow hoses.
Rainbow.
Yeah, and that's something we've considered actually. So we'll be watch this space. So if there's an event really which I'd probably like to promote and recommend to your listeners, I think it's always nice for people to hear about events that they would never come across unless they heard about it on a podcast like yours.
Fantastic. Well, Jonny, you've got a reputation for being passionate about what you do and lovely. And I think after a good 45-minute chat with you, the listeners will totally appreciate that. We've got a lot to link up in this week's episode to make sure we cover off the raffle for the bike and that 5-year anniversary watch. But everything we imagine will be on williamwoodwatches.com. And definitely check that out. You can see the watches we've discussed and more, the straps, travel cases, and of course all of the finer details about the charity work and all those great write-ups you mentioned, Jonny. Also would like to thank you for being, I think, the first watch brand to sponsor OT the podcast back in 2020 when we started. It hasn't been forgotten, and Felix and I are very appreciative of that. So thank you, and thank you for joining us today.
You're very welcome, and thanks so much for having me on the show. Always really enjoy talking to you guys, and looking forward to potentially doing more in the future as well.
Do you know what I was most impressed about from a purely selfish point of view in that interview, Andy?
When I told you how cool you'd look on a motorbike?
Close. That was my second favorite thing. No, I was happy that I managed to make an apolitical joke about Scott Morrison.
Bust out the ukulele.
No, it was a fire hose. He doesn't hold a hose. So, He couldn't wear a William Wood watch. I don't know. Jeez Louise, what a time to be alive. Thank you so much, Jonny. Really great to chat and really cool to
have you on.
Yeah, and get a feeling for like your passion for the brand and the
he's so passionate, such a passionate, lovely guy.
Yeah, I mean, it really sells you in the end. Like, I'm a really big fan of the watches, but I'm a bigger fan of the people behind them. If you want to pitch us an idea for a first responder themed timepiece, you can do that on email, otthepodcast@gmail.com. If you want to tag us in your pictures of William Wood watches, you can do that at ot.podcast on Instagram.
Yeah. And if you like OT, make sure you're telling your friends. Make sure you're joining our Discord.
Our what, Andy?
Our Discord, Nicholas Kenyon. I combined Discord and Nicholas. Nicholas Kenyon. And tell your friends, tell your firefighting friends and family. And let's go.
These are the sort of Easter eggs you get in the last.
If you make it to the last 2% retention.
Andy doing a swear.
Nicholas, it's probably Nicholas Kenyon.
Is that a type of Pokemon? Ridiculous.
Don't be ridiculous. All right, see you guys next week.